Hello everyone, welcome back to our course. In this demo, we are going to discuss how we can document our APIs. So in previous demo, so far we have discussed about ASP.NET Core Web API introduction. Then we can discuss what are the dependencies of our project. So we have a dependency for a database. So we talked about in-memory database and the local database. So we have connected our application with Microsoft SQL Server. Then after that we have a full walkthrough about our project. So we have learned about our project structure, right? So now our project is ready. It has been connected to the database. We have go through the document project structure, and we have seen that when we run our application, we just show the responses earlier demo. Alright, so think about some scenario. So we can't remember all of our endpoints. That's not practical, right? So let's see, even if you have a small project, we can't remember all the endpoints, what are the request body, what should be the response body, what are the properties we're supposed to use for the API calls. Sometimes we need to use a get request or post request. There are a lot of things we can't memorize this, so we need to have a tool that can read our code and convert all of our endpoints into a readable way that can document our APIs. So this is what we are going to discuss in this demo. So for that we are going to use Swagger UI. So that what we are looking. So this is the website, and we can see how it comes normally. So normally, let's see, they have given some example. So Swagger Play Store API documentation, they have listed some sample API endpoints for get, post and delete, put and all. Okay, so this is normally how normally an API documentation looks like. Okay, let's see how we can implement this into our project. Alright, come back to our project. So in here we are going to install Swashbuckle/SwaggerUI packages library. For that, if you are using Visual Studio, you can simply go to you need to select your project. Then you can select the package manager console or package manager. There you can find, just search for Swashbuckle, then you can find this project. So here in JetBrains, so we can find all the sources here what we have installed. Let me search for Swashbuckle. Okay, so this is what Swashbuckle ASP.NET Core. So remember one thing, so we have developed this application using .NET 8. Okay, actually .NET Core 8. From .NET 9, Microsoft informed that they are not going to be let's see, when you install create a ASP.NET Core project with the default default template, by default ASP.NET Core application come up with the Swagger UI documentation. Okay, if in Visual Studio, if you create a project with the API project with a template, by default the Swagger UI will be there. But from .NET 9, Microsoft said that there won't be default config for the Swagger, so you can manually add, or you can go for other alternative for the documentation. All right, just for your information, because in .NET 9 you may work, right? That's why. All right, so here if you see in JetBrains, you may notice that EventScheduler, it's already has this library. If you check for other project, we haven't installed, but we need that Swagger UI only for our EventScheduler application, because other stuffs are data and the services. So we, according to my config, I have already installed it. In your project, if you used Microsoft Visual Studio, you will see a install button. In VS Code you have to find the marketplace of plugins area. You need to find the NuGet package. There you need to search for Swashbuckle, then you will find the Swagger UI library. Just install it. Normally for VS Code or Visual Studio you can simply do it, and in the internet also you can find many resources. For the people are coming from other platform like Linux or Mac OS, they use JetBrain or VS Code, mostly JetBrain. So because since they wanted to have IDE experience, therefore my courses mainly using this kind of different kind of IDE and setup environment. All right, so if you haven't installed, you will get a plus icon here. You can just simply install, and by selecting a version, I just show you how to do. And for data project, so it will ask like this. Okay, so you have to install, but I don't need to install it for EventScheduler.data, since I have installed the packages library correctly, and it's already installed 6.2.3 for my event schedule application. All right, let's config. After the application build created, after the DB context connected, and we have added identity services, we need to add the Swagger UI service, register it. Okay, just search. Okay, see, better to use the same word, like even if the method name is SwaggerGen, because there are other method also your project has, add file log or add another project or any libraries. So if you type your specific library name or tool name, then it will pop up that SwaggerGen. All right, okay, just okay. Now we have registered. Let's see how we can consume it. So mostly our API endpoints documentation no need to be revealed to the public or client, right? So it mostly used for development purpose, therefore we should restrict it to the development environment. All right, so therefore we have to use it here. App dot, we are going to use it. See, automatically it says Swagger, and we need to have a nice UI for that nice Swagger UI. So these are the basic config we need to do for our Swagger documentation installation. Okay, let's run the project and save it, and let's run the project and see how it looks like. Okay, and it looks nice as well. So now our app is running. Let's dive into the Swagger. All right, this is how our Swagger UI look like for our endpoints. Let's do some changes. So now what we have seen, we have connected our database. So data for macOS, Docker image is running. So I have run the application. So we need to redirect to this URL by changing that URL Swagger. So you need to remove the existing default routes, and you need to add the Swagger, then you will redirect to his. So now we'll change some config to read this document more clear and in one shot. All right, come back to our application. Yeah, launch setting, I have talked about this in previous demos. So currently when we run the application, we are redirecting to API monitoring, but what we have to do is we need to land it to Swagger page. So then we get, so when we're running the application, we get some nice view at first stop. Okay, now this configuration done, and if you use Visual Studio, you can have a properties of your, if you need to go for the your project properties, then you have a launch settings. There you need to configure the launch settings. There you can configure your default browser and initial launch URL, and you can launch your application on a browser, or you can change all these settings from a UI, Visual Studio GUI. But I never recommend that approach. Always do the config for based on the setting config files. So now we have launch setting file. This file contain all the configuration related to our project launch. So if you see the development environment, we are launching the project for Swagger, and launch browser is true. That means initially it will launch with the browser, and we change the URL to Swagger UI. Now yes, this part is done, and let's do some more configurations to our project. Swagger, let's see, because as of now it doesn't contain so much information. Okay, this is small configuration, not mandatory for all the projects, just giving some idea regarding our documentation. Just if you read this, so we have registered our Swagger documentation, and we with some options. So we are providing the version and the title, a small description, and some terms of service and content and the license. In your case, in your project required more details, you can add those. Okay, that's it about this configuration. So we have registered our Swagger UI with this configuration, just consuming here. So consumption, there is no change. Configuration only we need to have, we did some changes. That's all. Run the project and see the output. Alright, so now our app is running. Refresh this. Okay, by default we are landed to this page. Okay, so now when we run the application, we will end up with this Swagger documentation. You may see some changes earlier than comparing earlier version. Here the event scheduler v1, that definition, event API version 1, and you may see some JSON and ASP.NET Core Web API for managing events. This is an event scheduler application. This description given by us, all the other config that we gave there. Right, so in upcoming demo we will look how we can use this Swagger UI to test our application and debug our code, and that will help us to debug and fix the errors. Alright, see you all on next demo.